something that's been on my mind lately is the word deserve, especially as it relates to the creator economy and to scaling laws and stuff like that. And what triggered this thought right now, and it's this comment, "This is the lifestyle we all deserve," in this video by Kelly Stamps, where she, well, goes like showing her life around a small town in Connecticut or something like that. And yeah, here it says this part, which is lifestyle funded by the Stampede and YouTube, right? And also there's a person in the comments saying that this is the lifestyle we all deserve, right? So it's like, how does the word deserve relate to what's actually feasible if the lifestyle itself is funded by us, right? So how are we, all of us, the audience, supposed to deserve the same thing that the creator, aka someone who, thanks to scaling laws, right, is funding her lifestyle? And yeah, so I've been thinking about this for a long time, because in part, for example, something that I thought about was this guy, Jack Conte. He is the guy who made Patreon. Patreon is like a platform to fund creators. Yes, so someone puts out a link and says, every month I'm going to do whatever, right? And I'm going to give you some perks and you give me money so I can create, basically, right? Mecenazgo, patroning it's called in English. So yeah, a platform for patroning. And yeah, basically he says in this part
that will culminate in the second renaissance. So here's the cycle as I see it. Right now, there are more creators than there have ever been. That means that the distribution platforms are competing to get creators paid as they realize that ad revenue isn't really cutting it. So as the distribution platforms get better at helping creators get paid, that's going to lead to creators building stronger and stronger businesses over time, which is going to lead to professional creativity becoming normal. As it becomes normal for a creator to just build a business and run a business and make a living, not just make a living, but to crush it, kids growing up are going to realize that being a creator is an option that is available to them. And that's going to lead to even more creators, which is going to lead to more competition to get creators paid, which is going to lead to creators building even stronger businesses.
Yeah, so he talks about like this link, and for him and his platform, it does make sense, right? Because he has risen like $150 million for his platform, and he is also living the creator life, and he's, well, thanks to Patreon and stuff like that, also able to run businesses that are profitable by creating stuff, right? He has like a band called Pomplamoose with his wife and I think others. So he's not only a CEO, right? He's a creator. Maybe not first, or maybe first, I don't know. Maybe he defines himself, I don't know, as creator first some place. But yeah. So to this video, people had questions in the comments and stuff like that. And then he made a video where he responds to the comments. And I remember that I had a comment in one of these videos about him. And yeah, basically in this comment, what I say is that by the way, 2 years ago, so I have been thinking about this, not like a full-time thinking, but thinking around this and stuff like that for years, right? So yeah, basically what I said is that back then I used to watch like a lot of Gary Vee, and Gary Vee also has this take that is like, if you're the number one Smurfs fan ever, you can launch a Smurfs podcast and make 100K a year living out this, right? So I wonder how scalable does Gary think this is, right? It's like he uses this put in the work thing as to the main barrier against everyone doing it right now, I guess. Or maybe lack of education, because people don't know that this is a thing that exists and that can be done, and lack of work, because people don't know that this is a thing that can work, right? No, well, because people don't want to put in the work because they are lazy or something like that, I guess. So he, in this video, uses himself as an example, Yeah, I'm not
there
exactly
become
sure.
more and more creators. Each creator like makes less. That's not what's happening. So this is a view of creator cohorts on Patreon. By the way, I'm sharing a lot of data with you guys. I
Yeah, because people told him in the other video that more creators are making money, but everyone is making less, and he disproves that. Then he talks about like the growth of the economy and stuff like that, how people can release merch and everything like this. And my angle on this is that I wasn't 100% sold on this idea, because I don't know like what's the threshold for someone to count as putting in the work, right? And how attainable it is for people to do this, right? Or how actually, because the point of the platform being interesting and being able to grow is there, right? This is probably going to happen, but who is going to take most of that growth, right? The people who are already big, new players with X resources, new players but without those resources who are being like brought up thanks to new recommendation algorithms, stuff like that, right? So in that sense, I'm not clear on what's happening. I sense that there is opportunity that maybe has been unlocked, respect from before or something like that, but yeah. So the mix between education, for example, and opportunity has been unlocked, because in the very early stages of YouTube, for example, growth was locked to people who knew about it, which was a very small part of the population, right? It's a small sector of people who were educated enough to know that this was a possibility, right? That you could use this platform, or maybe not even education, but basically awareness at that point, right? Because the platform was very small. And then there was a space where it seemed like it favored a lot more bigger creators than smaller ones, and that everything ran in Spain. There was this like common term that was called the YouTube mafia, la mafia de YouTube, sí. and I think it's basically a clone of an Anglo-Saxon term from the Anglo-Saxon YouTube community, right? Where it's basically that every popular creator that rose to fame was basically because they were friends with a popular creator that rose to fame earlier, right? So that's like the second stage of YouTube that I think was happening. And that phase is now over. And that phase was also the phase that reached the most people, right? Well, that reached a lot of people. So that phase had the education and had every little kid thinking, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up, but it didn't have that much of organic algorithmic growth, if I'm explaining myself correctly, right? And now maybe the tides are switching a bit, and while having a good subscriber base and plugging your own people and stuff like that always helps, obviously. Now algorithmic organic is being pushed really hard, right? On TikTok, for example, on YouTube Shorts, compared to the olden days where the subscribe button was literally all of it, right? Right now, everyone is telling you to ring the bell as well, but when you go to YouTube, you don't necessarily go to this bell right here, right? You go to... Wait, what the fuck? You go to... So you go to YouTube to watch these videos here, or the videos on your front page, not necessarily the ones you rang the bell to, right? Or you click on the first video you click on is the one from the bell or from your phone and the notifications. You click on that first one, but then you stay because of the rest of the ones that YouTube is feeding you, right? So that's where the dynamics maybe have changed, and not also the dynamics themselves have changed, but also the incentives and the platform pushing one thing versus the other has shifted. And that was basically my thoughts on that. So that I'm not exactly super sold on the idea of what do people deserve, right? Is because for people to deserve the lifestyle of someone who is living a lifestyle funded by the creator economy, right? You need for basically middle class to mean that literally everyone has a running YouTube channel that makes money. No, right? That's kind of like the crux of the question. And I'm not sure exactly on how that is. I explained this, yeah. So I'm not 100% sold on your idea because of on how you use yourself slash Pomplamoose as an example, because I'm not sure how many people could count as channels that are trying, but the 50,000th channel in the US and 27th channel in the world with 1 million subs sounds like a lot, right? Because there are 10 million channels that have 1,000 subscribers and he has the 27th thousand, right? So he is literally top 1%, top 0.27%, right? So it's not for something to be middle class. I don't know. Maybe what's the global middle class percentage in income or something like that. So I don't know. Global income distribution or something like that. Yeah, so globally, right? If you're making $5 per day, like it shows here, right? You are, which is 5 times 365, right? 5 times 365, $2,000 a year. If you're making $2,000 a year, you are globally in the 50%, right? Or top 50%. If you're making more than 2,000 a year. So for something to be middle class, you have to have basically everyone on earth making 2,000. Well, everyone no, but more than half of the earth making $2,000 a year on YouTube, right? For it to count as global middle class. Or if you're in these parts of the world, Europe and North and South America, I guess. So what's that? 30 times 365, 11,000 a year to count as middle class. So how many people are actually making this money? He's top 27%. He's top 0.27% with a million subs or so. So what's the threshold for middle class? Is someone with 100,000 subs? How many people are there? Right? Because I didn't do the math, but it sounds, yeah. So my point was that middle class life right now implies being YouTube 1%, right? If you make, he makes a decent amount of money, but he doesn't make 0.27% of the world amount of money, right? He doesn't make whatever 0.27% is in the world. He doesn't make, I don't know, 100k a year or something. I don't know. That he makes a middle class income for extraordinary long tail of the distribution numbers. So that was my argument against that. Well, not against, but on whether it's feasible or not to wish for this deserved lifestyle, right? If you can use the word deserve for something that is 0.27% type of thing, right? It doesn't make sense to use that word. And then related to this are human rights. And for example, in this video, it's a video from a Spanish woman who is like pretty right wing, I think. And who basically, she talks about how the history of human rights, like we talk about human rights like they're a given, right? But they are basically like 60 years old or 70 years old from after World War II ended. And they were a tool used, well, imposed by the ones who won the Second World War, right? So like the free world, and for example, communist Russia and China and stuff like that didn't accept the Declaration of Human Rights at that point, right? So it's something that is not static. People have changed the Declaration of Human Rights and revised it and stuff like that. And yes, she analyzed it with this buenist framework, which is buenismo in Spanish, can mean goodism, right? Goodism or something like that. But it actually means, well, in this case, it refers to like Gustavo Bueno's philosophy. He's a materialistic philosopher. I think his chain of philosophy or whatever, it's called philosophic materialism. But yeah, so yeah, she talks about this human rights thing, and yeah, basically it's to like probably criticize gay people. No, just kidding. I don't know. I don't remember, but yeah, but basically that she explains how the Declaration of Human Rights came to be, right? And she criticizes like this deserving part. If I recall correctly, I pulled up the video, but I didn't watch it. I watched like the first intro. But yeah, if I recall correctly, yeah, basically the criticism that Gustavo Bueno made is that these human rights words are being used without the feasibility thing accounted for, right? For example, I usually read on Twitter stuff like right to housing, right? And it's like, okay, it's good that you think people should have a roof over their heads, but it's a useless thought if you don't say how, right? And in the how is where people disagree a lot, right? Because their arguments are that if there is empty housing, then people are suffering while there are houses around that are empty, and then people start pulling up numbers, and some numbers favor what you say and some numbers favor what the other people say. I don't know. I don't really have a say on this argument. But yeah, the counter argument is like that people that don't deserve housing necessarily because it like infringes on the property rights of someone else, right? If you have your own house and your vacation house or your whatever, because whatever, then if someone infringes that right of yours, it's bad, right? For like ethical reasons, right? Because you are infringing on property rights and stuff like that, right? So yeah, it's like this battle between what do people deserve in general, right? Do people deserve a roof over their heads more than they deserve these arbitrary laws that govern property? What creates a better world, right? So I guess those are the takes, and I don't know about anything about any of that, but yeah, those were my thoughts on this. And I hope I wasn't too unclear. And yeah, if you want to comment on anything, if you want any source or anything, just ask for it in the comments. Yeah, tell me what you think about this. And yeah. And yeah, this is, for context, this is the second video of my doing 100 video series, doing 100 bad video series. So yeah, here I am. This is video number 2 out of 100 and done.